Oh, only data. I think I was only connected to 5G. Yeah.
Apparently they were getting 5 copies, so but maybe whether
They just came to the You've got both flags.
I think it's set up now. This one is We're currently broadcasting live down outside the Foreign Office in Westminster, London. So this is the Israeli protest against the Labour government's response to the ongoing situation between Israel and Palestine. And the main demand from the Israeli side is for the hostages to be released. But welcome onto the live stream. Hope everyone's doing well. It appears that it is still setting up, so it should start fairly shortly. But be sure to share this live stream out there with your friends and family so you can get notified whenever I go live or upload a new video. But once again, thank you for tuning in. So the time is just past 6:30 in the evening, and we are currently down outside the Foreign Office in Westminster in central London. So I hope you enjoyed today's stream. We'll try to do some interviews beforehand. I'll just double check if the stream is rolling up and well, but yeah, I'll just try to speak to the this guy here. Hi, sir. How are you? Sorry. Very good to see you. My name's Louis Errington. I'm a freelance journalist. Do you want to say a few words to the camera about today's protest and the demands you'd like to see from the UK government in particular?
Sorry, say the question again.
Would you like to, so what demands would you like to see from the UK government?
I would like the UK government to continue supplying Israel with 100% of the missiles that they sent in the past. And I don't like the cut in the missiles being sent to Israel. And the Labour government, I'm afraid, is not as supportive to Israel as the Conservative.
So do you feel like overall things might get worse before they get better in this whole situation going on?
The government, they could get a lot worse, I'm afraid, because I'm afraid Keir Starmer should not be in the position of Prime Minister. I think the Conservative Party should be back in.
Do you think he might fall short of his term in power?
I think he might, yes. Yeah. Well, the Conservative were 100% pro-Israel.
Thank you so much for your time on camera. Cheers. Thank you.
I don't think he watched my big head in there. Nothing in it.
Can I just put one on each side?
Good evening, everyone. Just to have your attention for 2 minutes before we start, we have T-shirts and tags for anyone that would like to buy them. Cara is going to just be here, and we're about to start in a few minutes, officially. So that was that.
He's doing lectures online on medicine. They can go
The asbestos on it. I wanted to get Kemi on. Talk about out of the station, if you walk there, there's like library.
Hi there. How are you doing? Very good to see you. How's it been? You okay? Yeah. Good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice. It was a good day.
Hi, sir. Very good to see you again. Do you want to say a few words to the camera just before the
Yeah,
protest
sure.
starts?
Yeah, sure.
Should we, definitely, yeah, let's just get a good background view. Thank you. So, yeah, in terms of Keir Starmer, what response would you like to see from him moving forward?
What we would like to see from Keir Starmer, we would like to see him take charge of his foreign secretary, stop the nonsense, stop betraying his allies, and reinstating those licenses. I think it's obvious to everyone that what happened is a shameful. It's a shameful event that should never happen. You don't abandon your allies mid-war. It's just not something you do. And again, we talked about it, I think, last week. These are 1930s politics by the Labour government, as if we didn't learn anything from history, trying to appease the aggressor instead of standing strong with the people that really deserve the support.
Now, in terms of, do you think things might get worse before they get better with this whole conflict?
Hopefully not, fingers crossed not. Hopefully Hamas will understand that there is no way out. They will release the hostages, they will lay down their arms, and they will prevent all the unnecessary suffering that we're seeing going on in Israel, in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Lebanon, in Yemen, and the list goes on and on and on. It's in the hands of Hamas to stop everything. If they would just lay down their arms and release the hostages, everything will be done. It could have been done by the 8th of October.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for making the effort to come and gather with us here on a beautiful summer evening in London. Thank you for making the time. For this very important rally, it's very important that we do this. There are hard decisions that governments have to make. How to stabilise the economy, how to save the NHS, how to solve the housing crisis. This is not one of those thorny, complex decisions. To provide life-saving arms to their ally is not one of their issues. Labour says they are friends of the Jewish community, that they are friends of Israel. Well, we are here to say that friends do not do what they have done. Friends do not stop arms to their ally when that ally is fighting a war of literal survival on 7 fronts. Friends do not reward the brutal terrorist who slaughtered over 1,000 of our people and is still holding over 100 men, women, and children, including a baby, hostage. These are not the acts of friendship or of an ally. On October 7th, Hamas started a war and since then have ignored all the rules of war, perpetuating crime after crime against the Israeli people and their own people, resulting in thousands of deaths. Labour is rewarding Hamas's shocking disregard for the lives of their own people, and in doing so, Labour is endangering the Jewish state and emboldening terrorists. Their brutal regimes and mass murderers across the Middle East and the globe. Labour, will you choose good or not? Will you choose an ally in its quest for continued existence, or appease a death cult who stands against every value you state you hold close?
Is that Corbyn supporters?
Oops. Stop the arms is not a slogan or a neutral stance. It is a death wish for Israel and for the Western world. Simply it's this: do you support Israel or Hamas? There is no middle ground. History has shown us that the Jewish people will survive. We are a people of a rich history and long memories, and we will remember who stood with us when it mattered the most. I know I'm not Jewish, you know I'm not Jewish, but I feel like I'm honorary. A lot of people say that to me, so when I say my people, I'm saying we are together in this. Christians and Jews and all clear-minded people. Thank you. So it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Rabbi Dwerk as the senior rabbi at the S&P Sephardi community and the Sephardi's chief rabbi. He's deputy president of the LSJS, president of the Council of Christians and Jews, and ecclesiastical authority of the Board of Deputies, and we are incredibly honored to have him speak to us today. Rabbi.
Thank you so much. Friends, as we stand here outside of the Foreign Office, we must speak to them. We must speak to them collectively and make our message clear. We have to recognize that what is at stake here is not just the survival of Israel. And I know that I do not have to say that that is what we all care about, pray for, cry for in our hearts. This is about everything that we hold dear and cherish in the West, about life and about liberty. We are dealing with a death cult, jihadists who are eager to die, who are eager for their children to die, and who will willfully, gleefully give over their lives in order to destroy everything that we hold dear and cherish. And if we are not aware of that, if this country, if this government is not aware of that, there are much greater problems than they deem that they have. The withholding of arms to Israel is not just a punch in the gut to Israel and to the Jewish people, which it is. It is a capitulation. It is a taking down of armor. It is an open vulnerability to that death cult that is all over and waiting to destroy everything that we hold dear. It is an opening of their arms to Hamas, to the Islamic State, and to all of the jihadist regimes and groups that we have been harrowed to hear of how it is that they behave and what it is that they do and what it is that they aim to do. And has been said many times, when they tell you what they aim to do, believe them. They say what they mean, and they mean what they say. The withholding of arms to Israel is not a minor act in a specific war. It is an act that puts the entire West, everything we hold dear and cherish, at peril, and a much greater peril than anyone really understands. It's a travesty. They put on the altar. By holding those arms, they put on the altar Britain, and British values, the West, and Western values. And we all suffer. We must recognize that. And we gather here in order to be able to speak that loud, clear, and with complete resolve. And we mustn't stop speaking it, because the likelihood is that we are not near the end of jihadism. It threatens to menace the world that we cherish. And when we recognize that and hold that into perspective, we understand why it is that we need to do what we do, and why we speak what we speak, and why we protest as we protest. And regardless of the fact that so many seemingly sane people in the world, universities of the highest degree, students of the highest academic credentials, can't get this right. They can't get it right. We must get it right. We must demand that Britain gets it right. We must demand that the West gets it right. And recognize that this is not just about Israel. It begins with Israel. Israel is the example, but it is about the entirety of the West and all we hold dear and cherish. The only thing more that I can say is to you, to my Jewish brothers and sisters, and to our dear allies who have stood together with us from the very beginning of this horrific, horrific war, who have stood together with us and us together as a people watching hostages suffer and the world turn a blind eye, who have had to endure seeing their photos ripped down from every wall. And not just the walls in this city or in this country. How many times have you traveled to another country in Europe, in the United States, and seen those remnants of a photo of an innocent man, woman, child that has been viciously taken hostage after horrible and atrocious murders and tortures, and coldly ripped off walls everywhere? There is something wrong with our world. And the withholding of arms, is a further capitulation to that insanity and illness. Yeah. And we must not allow that to continue. We must fight against it with every fiber of our being. To my Jewish brothers and sisters, to our amazing and dear allies, be strong, remain, have the resolve, the conviction, the absolute moral clarity that we are in the right, and that we will continue to fight with all we've got against this terrible menace that is casting its horrible shadow around the world. We pray that the hostages are brought home safely and soundly. We pray that Israel come through this in peace and strength. And we pray that we see the great values of the West upheld, strong and steadfast, always. Amen.
Amen.
עומדים על משמרתנו וערי אלוקינו.
Vladimir Bermon is a steadfast advocate for Israel and is the founder of the military expert panel. He's just come back from a trip to Israel where he spoke to IDF experts and visited Gaza. Next he'll share what he saw there and what he learned.
Thank you. Friends, we're here to protest an injustice, but as we do so, we should remember how privileged we are to have leaders like Rabbi Dweck who can inspire us, and Jewish melodies and singers like Yoni who can warm the Jewish heart no matter the weather. Let's thank them. Friends, I'm the founder of the Military Expert Panel. Last week, we took a delegation of senior military leaders from Britain and from 5 other NATO countries to Israel. Our group of generals and other leaders has centuries in combined experience of leading men into combat. I speak here with their authority, not with mine. These seasoned professionals reviewed the Israeli Defense Forces rules of engagement and concluded they are best in class. Unanimously, our group concluded that Gaza, with its extraordinary network of terror tunnels, I've been inside, it's like nothing you can imagine, is the most challenging operating environment they had ever come across. And yet, despite that, the heroes of the IDF achieved the lowest civilian to combatant ratio ever recorded in the history of urban warfare. The precautions taken to protect civilian life are quite simply without precedent, for human life is the greatest value in Judaism and in the IDF Code of Valor. Friends, any assertion to the contrary is simply false and either based on poor information or malice. Sadly, our government's decision to suspend 30 arms export licenses is not based on objective assessment of the facts. Friends, we know from my friend, the Right Honorable Kemi Badenoch, that the decision to impose a partial arms embargo on Israel is not, contrary to what is said, is not driven by legal considerations. Rather, it is political and politicized. Kemi was a trade secretary in the previous government and was responsible for arms sales. She knows the official explanation is not the reason, but only an excuse. And this matter, friends, is far too serious for excuses masquerading as statecraft. Therefore, we say, reverse the arms embargo now. The military expert panel toured the scenes of the October 7th massacre perpetrated by bloodthirsty Hamas terrorists against peaceful civilians. We met the IDF High Command and the Military Advocate General and rigorously studied the way they implement international law. We also met with Defense Minister Yoav Gallant and with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. We went into Gaza. We traversed the entire Gaza Strip along the Philadelphia corridor all the way to the so-called Swedish village by the sea. Friends, the conclusion from all this work is clear. Israel is waging an existential war against the forces of evil. The evil that murders, beheads, rapes, kidnaps, and so much more. After watching the footage of some of the atrocities committed on October 7th, the generals told me that in their long careers defending all of us, they had never seen such brutality carried out with such glee. Not in Iraq, not in Afghanistan, not in any other theater of war in recent memory. Israel is indeed the front line in the battle to defend our civilizational values from the onslaught of dark forces. Forces which are inspired, funded, and directed by Iran. We must always remember, and I say this cognizant of the wonderful heroes demonstrating against IRGC and Iran right next to us. Iran is the chief sponsor of terrorism globally, but also right here on British soil. The UK government must stand with Israel and must act against our shared enemy, the nihilistic regime of the murderous Ayatollahs. Any other course of action endangers not only Israel, but Britain herself, and of course all of us here today. The same ideology that incites Hamas violence also fueled the murders of Sir David Amess MP and of the British soldier Lee Rigby. The massacre of young people celebrating life itself at the Nova Festival, music festival, is no different from the Manchester Arena bombing of an Ariana Grande concert, or the failed, thank God, mass terrorist attack on a Taylor Swift concert in Vienna a mere 2 weeks ago. History teaches us, if Israel is first, the UK is always next. We say to Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer and to Foreign Secretary David Lammy, great men can make mistakes, and greatness is shown when those mistakes are corrected, not when they are compounded. Israel is Britain's steadfast ally, and Britain must stand with Israel in her hour of need. That, my friends, is the legal position. It is also the right position, and the only moral position. So we say together, reverse the arms embargo now! On behalf of the military expert panel, I extend an invitation to the Prime Minister and to the Foreign Secretary and to their advisors to join us on our next fact-finding mission in Israel. In Israel and to Gaza. They will see for themselves. They will learn firsthand. Alternatively, our experts will brief you, Prime Minister, and you, Foreign Secretary, and your advisors on the exemplary way in which the IDF conducts an almost impossibly difficult campaign. Friends, it is time to stand with Israel. It is time to stand up for British values, which Israel is defending even as we stand here today. So we say yet again, reverse the arms embargo now. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you.
Our next speaker is actually a close friend of mine as well. He's also very modest and humble, so I could say Megillah about him, but I won't. David Collier is a well-known investigative journalist who has been arguing Israel's case for over 2 decades. Having spent some time undercover posing as an anti-Israel activist, Collier has won awards for his journalism. Since October 7, he has been battling back against media bias and the relentless demonstration of a campaign we are seeing on our screens. David.
more of a writer than a talker, but we'll see how I go. And there you go, good start. Thank you. Right, we are standing now outside the British Foreign Office. And who is in charge now? Well, since July the 4th, it's been the Labour Party and Keir Starmer, or to Keir. And it did not take long for them to show us their true colours. These historically illiterate, politically immature cowards play around like students at a university campus. They restored funding to UNRWA. Then they pandered to the haters by suspending some of the licenses for arms sales to Israel. Make no mistake. If you restore funding to UNRWA, or basically restore funding to Hamas, at the same time as you suspend arms sales to Israel, then you are siding with the radical Islamic terrorists. You may as well get directly into bed with the Iranian regime and its genocidal aim to destroy the Jewish state. This is what Steer Karma's government has done. History will not remember them kindly. It's true that the Jews have a long history of being persecuted, but there is another consistent in history. Those who treated the Jews badly are remembered badly by history. It was true of the Greeks and the Roman empires, both long gone, and it's true of the British one too, because I'm not surprised by their actions today. From the actions that led to the expulsion of the Jews in 1290, to the betrayals during the Mandate period, the British already have a lot of Jewish blood on their hands. You want to count? Look at what they just did in the 20th century. First, in the creation of Transjordan, they chopped the Mandate land in half, stealing half of it from the Jewish people, and then, unforgivably, they closed the doors of British Palestine to the Jews during the 1930s. Look at the facts. The British were awarded the mandate by the League of Nations to facilitate the creation of a Jewish homeland. Instead, just as Hitler began to close his grip on the Jews of Europe in the 1930s, the British closed the doors to their escape route. How many, shame on you indeed, how many Jews could have been saved if the British were not pandering to Arab extremism in the 1930s? And who did they cower to? Who made the British close the doors? People like Izzuddin al-Qassam, a Syrian terrorist, there were no Palestinians back then, who terrorized the British and the Jews in the 1930s. Do you recognize the name? Because you should. Izzuddin al-Qassam is the name that Hamas gave to its own terrorist arm. The same old hatred. They could not even be bothered to come up with a different name. The British could not handle the violence in the 1930s, so they paid the Arabs off in Jewish blood by closing the doors to the mandate. 6 million Jews perished. I don't know how many could have been saved. We'll never know. And here they are at it again today, pandering to the anti-Semites and selling out to the Jews. Few have played a bigger part in perpetuating this conflict than the British. The civil service, yes, the same civil service that sits in the Foreign Office today, even after they created Transjordan, worked tirelessly from within to undermine the mandate. They wanted the Jewish project to fail from the beginning. Let us not forget, 2 years after World War II finished, they were rounding up Holocaust survivors who landed on the shores of Haifa, putting them back into boats and taking them to Cyprus, where they put them into British concentration camps. Then, in 1948, they tried helping the Arabs during the Civil War. Again, they wanted the Jews to lose. And since then, they have done much to undermine Israel. The support and funding of UNRWA is just one part of their betrayal. Support for the right of return, voting against Israel at the UN, support for Arafat, pressuring Israel to accept the ridiculous and unworkable two-state solution are just some of the others. And now we see they are still at it, still betraying the Jews and the Jewish state. And these people, these cowards, learn nothing from history, because Israel will be fine. Israel will be fine. It is not our soul, our souls, and our legacy we are fighting for here. It's theirs. Because until they reverse these ridiculous, damaging decisions, shame on them all.
Thank you so much, David. It is my honour to welcome Jonathan Sasharotti, who is a prominent British journalist, broadcaster and campaigner, known for his staunch defence of Israel and his active fight against anti-Semitism. For many years, he has been a vocal critic of bias against Israel in the media, in politics, and on the international stage, consistently and fearlessly challenging misinformation and anti-Semitism. Having covered terrorist attacks around the UK, Europe, and Israel, he's a regular analyst on Fox News, GB News, Talk TV, Sky, BBC, and in a wide range of print and online publications around the world. What does he not do? He's amazing. Please welcome him to the stage, Jonathan. Thank you so much.
Not long ago, I remember watching a convoy of cars driving through London. Their loudspeakers roared with threats. Fuck the Jews. Fuck their daughters. Fuck their mothers. Rape their daughters. They were waving flags, but not the flags you are tonight. They were waving PLO flags. Those people who drove the length of our country from Bradford down to London, threatening to rape our women, did so, they said, in solidarity with the Palestinians. They were never tried, they were never imprisoned. And those threats, empty to some but vivid to us, did not remain words. They became actions, brutal actions. In October, Palestinian terrorists breached the border of southern Israel, and what followed was not war, but savagery. Women were raped, families shattered, children stolen. And humanity was lost that day. We gather here now not just to mourn the fallen, but to rise in defiance. Not to grieve alone, but to stand together. This last year has been one of pain and exhaustion and sorrow for all of us. Yet, in this crucible of suffering, something has emerged, and that is clarity. Clarity in our purpose, clarity in our enemies, and clarity in our allies. We know who we are, and we know who we are not. We are not merely spectators in this struggle. And when I say we, I don't just mean you and me here in this street, in this city. I mean we, this nation, we, Britain. We who believe in justice, who believe in freedom, who believe in standing up to terrorism and facing down the barbarism that Israel faces from its enemies. This government should choose the courage of Winston Churchill, not the complicity of Jeremy Corbyn. This government should be strengthening the state of Israel, not emboldening Hamas. This fight, this struggle, is not just Israel's, it is ours. Our allies in Israel are the gatekeepers of the West and of our shared liberal values of freedom and acceptance. They are threatened by the same bloodthirsty, sadistic evil as we are. The same evil that struck Israel on that terrible day is the same evil that seeks to strike us. The same ideology that burns homes in Israel, burns lives here in London, in Manchester. We've seen it before, and we will see it again if we stand idly by. Our government's recent decisions and moves designed to punish our friends will come to punish us too. With that same PLO flag that they flew over their rape convoy in London, they've marched through our streets here in our country week after week and camped in our universities. They spoke not for peace, they spoke not for justice, they spoke for violence. And they called for an end to Israel from the river to the sea. They called those of us who stand proudly with Israel murderers and lovers of war. We know we are not. It's the same flag that they fly in Gaza and the same flag that they fly in Ramallah when they call there for an end to the Jewish state, doing their best or indeed their worst to achieve that goal. And yet, what has our government done? Bit by bit, step by step, it is abandoning our ally, Israel. It has forsaken our values. It resumed funding of UNRWA, an organisation corrupted by its ties to Hamas. It imposed this partial arms embargo, casting Israel not as the beacon of morality that it is, but as if it were the villain in this fight. We know that it is not. These intellectual and moral pygmies have decided that in the battle of our lifetimes, they will abandon the side of morality and good. A battle which is a direct and entirely righteous one, a reaction to the worst and most bloodthirsty attack on Jews that I have ever seen in my lifetime. The danger and threat to Israel from the Palestinian terrorists in Gaza and the West Bank, the threat to Israel from Hezbollah in Lebanon, the threat to Israel from the Houthis in Yemen is the exact same threat to Britain that we saw when 15 attempts were foiled to kill people here in our country. The exact same threat to Britain that we saw when our sailors were kidnapped in the Persian Gulf. The exact same threat we saw when Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe was kidnapped, imprisoned and tortured in Iran, and we ended up having a vast amount of money extorted from us for her return. That threat is the Islamic Republic of Iran, pursuing an agenda of radical, extremist political Islam. That is with whom Israel is at war. And we are in that battle too, right here, right now, whether we like it or not. For our government now to pretend that Israel's actions are illegal or unethical, somehow wrong, is to surrender in that battle. And we must not surrender to fanatical, political, extremist Islam. It would kill in our streets, it does kill in our streets. And in the streets of Beirut and Jerusalem and Munich and New York and Paris and Mumbai and just about everywhere else in the world. Just to close, I have a message for those outside Britain, especially in Israel. Many Britons know exactly what this fight is truly about. We know what it is to be targeted by extremists and killed by extremists and terrorists. We will never stop telling our government exactly what we think of their decisions to turn their backs on you. We will never do that. We will stand with you in this fight because it is our fight too. And we thank you for your bravery and endurance on our behalf too. Am Yisrael Chai.
would like to introduce Nicole Lampert, a prominent British journalist whose career has been marked by her passion for truth, justice, and her commitment to amplifying the voices that often unheard. Nicole's work has been featured in some of the most respected publications in the UK, where she's reported on a range of issues from politics, foreign affairs, to the challenge faced by the Jewish people today. As a proud and vocal advocate against anti-Semitism, she has used this platform to confront prejudice, challenge misinformation, and foster greater understanding for Israel. Thank you very much.
Hi. I don't know about you, but I'm tired. I'm tired of all the lies, tired of the gaslighting, tired of the hate, tired of this upside-down world we are living in with our own government is helping to fund the people who house terrorists while punishing Israel for fighting them. I'm tired of the television channels which repeat Hamas lies as facts. Tired of all the anti-Semitism. Shame on them.
Shame on them!
Shame on all of them.
Shame!
One of the first things that David Lammy did when he became Foreign Secretary was restore funding to UNRWA.
Shame!
Now, you can understand why someone who only looks at things superficially might do that. I don't think any of us would deny there is a humanitarian crisis in Gaza, although we know whose fault that is.
Yeah, exactly.
But the innocent civilians of Gaza are also the victims of Hamas. But UNRWA are the specialists when it comes to Gaza. But when he resumed that funding, he never ever made it conditional. He never mentioned what any of the problems were. He never said that UNRWA needed to stop teaching hate in its schools. He never said that UNRWA needed to restore neutrality. He never once called out the problem of the existence of an organisation which perpetuates the idea that Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank are refugees, just waiting to get back to their proper homes. He never criticised UNRWA for housing terrorists who joined in with the slaughter of October 7. And he never called out the UNRWA teachers who celebrated October 7. And why would he, when so many in his party celebrated with them? Shame on them! When the UN was established after the horrors of World War II, it had noble aims. One of them was a commitment to maintain international peace and security. Nearly 80 years later, if you look at their work in Israel and the Palestinian territories, they've done the opposite, thanks to UNRWA. Every other refugee from every other conflict in the world is dealt with one agency. No other body is dedicated to just one conflict. Never mind the millions of Syrian refugees or the thousands and the millions from Afghanistan and Ukraine. Only Palestinian refugees are seen as deserving of their special attention, and that is because they perpetuate this idea that they are refugees still and that they will go home and that Israel is going to disappear. In UNRWA schools, both across Gaza and the West Bank, children are taught maths by looking at the angles of rockets and adding up the number of martyrs killed. Reading exercises include celebrations of firebomb attacks on Jews. They are taught that Jerusalem is theirs. Children learn the mantra, we must sacrifice ourselves and become martyrs. And we, the British taxpayer, are paying for this. Shame on them. Shame on the Foreign Office. Shame on David Lammy. Shame on Steve Starmer. And then there is the fact that has been building terror tunnels. Why did UNRWA allow this to happen unless it was helping Hamas prepare for war? And just as perniciously, by demanding that UNRWA officials are paid in dollars, which they then have to exchange for shekels, they ensure that billions of dollars are in circulation, which they then use for weapons. Yes. And we pay for this. Shame on them. The others have talked to you about the ludicrous virtue signalling to halt the sales of some arms to Israel. Meanwhile, David Lammy said earlier today, after meeting with Secretary Blinken, that there can be no role for Hamas going forwards. I wonder how he thinks that will happen with no weapons. Magic? Unicorns? Lammy's decisions on Israel, made in quick succession, signal not only that Britain is turning its back on Israel, but that it is turning its back on fighting terrorism. We stand here a stone's throw from where an Islamic terrorist attacked the heart of our democracy just 7 years ago, killing 6 people. We stand here when MPs from every party have been attacked by Islamists. We stand here when there are Islamic extremists in our House of Commons. Shame on all of them. We are tired, we are all tired, but we cannot stop reminding our fellow countrymen of what is at stake. I'm Israel High, thank you.
We have with us a great friend and an ally. You probably all know her, and we were lucky enough to get her to talk quickly with us. So let's have her. Oh, one moment.
It's okay. It's okay. It's
Yeah,
fun.
Lily, come on.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Israel High. Well done for all of you for coming out in the rain and showing support to your beautiful homeland, and for seeking justice and demanding what is right for you in the UK. I, as a British citizen, as an Iranian, stand with you, and I stand with the people of Israel. I believe in the women of Israel as I believe in the women of Iran. I don't know what's happened to the standards of the UN and the Red Cross, but we're not going to talk about them right now. We do not have that much time. I'm here to talk about the fact that 340 days, 340 days, and 101 hostages are still in the dark tunnels in Israel, under Gaza. Some of them could be in West Bank. Some of them could have been taken to the proxy lands all across the Middle East, and we have no idea. I, as a woman, know what it's like to be ignored. The hostages, the women, the children, the vulnerable people who have been taken should never be ignored, and they should always be in our minds. We should always fight for them until they are returned home. 340 days. It took 444 days for the American hostages to be released from the embassy inside of Tehran, held hostage by the Islamic Republic, and very much supported by the PLO at the time. This very tactic, this inhumane tactic, the psychological warfare you are experiencing right now, and your people have experienced over the years since the formation of the Islamic Republic and the PLO, we know what we are fighting against, but it seems to me like the West has decided to become complacent to such realities, ideologies, and existences. Shame on them. The Foreign Office has a duty to protect this nation and the Commonwealth. By being so complacent to such hardcore Islamists that put full censorship and ownership over our existences, whether it's free speech or whether it's the visual expressions of women, we are all under threat. And when your free speech is under threat, when the women of society are under threat, we are down for disaster, as we have been witnessing for the past 45 years. The anniversary of Mahsa Amini is coming up, 16th of September. 3 weeks after that is October 7. For an entire year, Iranians killed themselves trying to warn the world about the atrocities that awaits Israel and the West should we not stop the Islamic Republic. Our number one enemy is the Islamic Republic, their proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, Hashd-e-Sha'bi, and the Houthis, and we will succeed against all of them. We as a nation stand strong. We as a British nation, Jewish, Persian, Zoroastrian, Muslim or Christian, we will stand together in the times when they want us to be divided under this idea of wokeism. Well, guess what? No matter what, we will wear our yellow ribbons, even if it's on my other jacket today. I promise you it's there. We will stand united together, and we will fight the very dark Marxist Islamist ideology that's invading the West today. Americans and the British got together today. Let's make sure the Americans will at least have some influence on their British allies and persuade them to prescribe the IRGC in the terrorist list and cut down the ties that feed Hamas. Thank you. Am Israel Chai, Payande Iran, and long live the king.
Guys, I'll do it very quickly. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate each and every one who came and answered this call on such an important and shameful event that we need to hold here. The UK government is playing 1930 politics again. I won't bore you with the details, you heard it all before with much more respected speakers than myself. We will keep on pushing, and we will keep on coming, and we will keep on demanding that the UK government will restore the licenses, because these shameful decisions that they took, which is a long, one decision in a long line that we see coming. We will not forget, like David said, this is nothing new. British throwing Jews under the bus. So thank you all for coming. Please keep the email campaign. We had 20,000. We need many more thousands. Please keep it going. Am Israel Chai. Thank you, and bring them home.
Excuse me. Holding this. Thank you so much. That's really kind.
We want to do the anthem very quickly whilst we're packing up. Ready? God save our gracious King.
Thank you very much.
God save
Nice to meet you. Perfect timing. Thank you so much. You're so kind. That's lovely. Yeah, very good. Thank you. How's it been? Yeah. Got a good live broadcast today. Luckily, this is coming in handy when it rains.
Yes.
This weather is all of a sudden it's just completely sunny.
Insane, no?
I reckon that should be all sorted. Thank you so much. That's really nice. What's your name? Louis Errington. Lovely to meet you. Yeah. So I'm also on YouTube as well. Definitely. Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's absolutely chopping down. That was so random, it's just chucking down right now. The rain. It's actually really good. 2,000 people on the march.
It is okay now.
Yeah. I'm going to quickly end this. I'm going to quickly end the live stream. I think everything's over now.
There's like half.
Because of rain. Yeah.
You're just charging the same thing over and over again.
I'm just going to end my live stream underneath the arches.
The rain like that.
Yeah. Fine, I have a protector on it. That happened to me once or twice before. Let me just double check. Yeah, it's all working. That happened to me before. It's not the first time. Has a protector, luckily. True, many times. It had to rain at this time as well. Yeah. Yeah. Busker, should we just end here quickly? Okay, I'm just going to quickly end the live broadcast. Perfect. Okay, we're going to be ending this live broadcast now. It just rained all of a sudden. Apologies for the sudden ending, but thank you for tuning in. My name is Louis Errington. I'm an independent journalist and I cover a broad variety of protests and events in central London, ranging from Speaker's Corner most Sundays and various stuff that go on. So stay tuned for more content like this, and remember to hit the bell notification button so you can get notified whenever I go live or upload a new video. We'll be signing off now. Stay tuned for more coverage of stuff coming up within the next couple of days. I'll keep you guys updated on the community tab. Once again, it's been a pleasure covering today's protest, and we'll be broadcasting within the next couple of days once again, so stay tuned. And if you're new to the channel, welcome on and subscribe. Thank you so much once again. Louis Errington, I'm now signing off. Take care everyone, and goodbye, and have a lovely evening. My umbrella completely flipped. Do you mind holding this?
I might fly off.
Yeah, it might fly off somewhere.
I might.